Okay, so we're reading from a really good book, Srimad Bhagavatam. Uh, so let's go over the word for word. Uh, not Aichat means he did not desire this embrace. Tvam means you. Asi means are. Upata ga means a transgressor of the path of religion. Iti, so saying. Deva, in this case, it refers to Lord Shiva. Chupok, Chukopaha, say that 10 times fast, became angry. Shulam, his trident. Udyamya means raising. Tam, him, this is referring to Bhrigu Muni. Hantum, to kill. So Lord Shiva is raising his trident to kill Bhrigu. And Arebhe means was about. Tigma means fierce. Lochana, we know, like Padma Lochana, lotus eyes, whose eyes. Patitva means falling. That's also we know, like Patita Pavana, the friend of the fallen. Padayo, again, we also know what pada means, right? Feet. So Padayo, at Lord Shiva's feet. Devi, the goddess Devi, in this case, Lord Shiva's wife. Santavyam, asa, means pacified. Tam, him. Gira, with words. Atayu, then. Jagama, Bhrigu went. Vaikuntham, to the spiritual planet of Vaikunta. Yatra, where. And Deva Janardana, Lord Janardana Vishnu. But Bhrigu refused his embrace, telling him, "You are a deviant heretic." Not something you should generally say to Lord Shiva. At this, Lord Shiva became angry, and his eyes burned ferociously. He raised his trident and was about to kill Bhrigu when goddess Devi fell at his feet and spoke words to pacify him. Bhrigu then left that place and went to Vaikunta, where Lord Janardana resides. Purport. In the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada writes, quote, "It is said that an offense can be committed either with the body, with the mind, or by speech. Bhrigu Muni's first offense committed towards Lord Brahma was an offense with the mind. His second offense committed toward Lord Shiva by insulting him, criticizing him for unclean habits, was an offense by speech. Because the quality of ignorance is prominent in Lord Shiva, when he heard Bhrigu's insult, his eyes immediately became red with anger. With uncontrollable rage, he took up his trident and prepared to kill Bhrigu Muni. At that time, Lord Shiva's wife, Parvati, was present. Her personality, like Lord Shiva's, is a mixture of the three qualities, and therefore she is called Triguna Mayi. In this case, she saved this situation by evoking Lord Shiva's quality of goodness. Srila Jiva Goswami remarks that the Vaikunta planet referred to here is Svetadvip. Okay, so I have a question for you. This is maybe a little unconventional in Bhagavatam class, but I have a question for you that you can put in the chat. How was it that Parvati was able to pacify Lord Shiva so quickly? What is it? What was the magic potion? How did she do that? He was about to kill him, and Lord Shiva, how did Parvati so quickly? I'm sure Brahmatirtha can come up with some good jokes about this and husbands and wives, but okay, Mike says she was in the mode of goodness. Two people said, Henry said the mode of goodness. Mode of surrender and compassion, Krishna Doya Prabhu says. Okay. If there's any others, we says that her personality is a mixture of the three qualities. But she was actually, it doesn't say she was in the mode of goodness, but she evoked his goodness. I think Brahmatirtha came up with the answer. Happy wife, happy life. At least my understanding when I read this, and then, I can't read Parvati Devi's mind, but she had a relationship with him. Obviously, a very deep relationship, as Brahmatirtha is kind of hinting at, husband and wife, and so there's so much trust there. If just some bystander would have said, "Hey, Lord Shiva, chill," he might have gotten some chill that he didn't want or she didn't want by saying that. But there's a trusting relationship. There's a relationship, and Lord Shiva immediately saw the wisdom and at least in this verse, it seems to have happened quite quickly. And trust can be like that when it's of that kind of nature. We think of, Vasudev had to think really quickly when Kamsa was going to kill his sister, right? But Kamsa, for all of his whatever, he trusted Vasudev's word. So when Vasudev acted quickly, Kamsa, okay, right? And even when Jagai Madai, I always get, oh yeah, when Madai had thrown the clay pot, and blood came from the forehead of Nityananda. Nityananda said, wait. Jagai stopped him. Have mercy upon him. And again, trust and love, and of course, what a relationship of practically brothers, Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya stopped. So what I'd like to discuss today a bit is we see Parvati was able to influence Lord Shiva. Vasudeva was able to influence Kamsa. Nityananda was able to influence Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How do we influence people? How do we influence people? It's not so easy. I would think maybe many of us have had the experience in life that one of the hardest things to do in the world is to change someone's mind. And my guess is that on social media, it's impossible. Just, forget about it. It's such a useless tool for changing people's minds. But beyond that, how do we influence others? Now, we can say some of the ways that we're probably not going to focus on so much in bhakti, but well, there's social pressure that can be worked in a positive way in bhakti when there's a saying in pretty much every language of the world, tell me who you associate with, and I'll tell you who you are. And Henry put, make them think it's their idea. Beautiful, Henry. Make them think it's their idea. Let's put a pin in that because we're going to get back to that in a few minutes. Henry knows how to read my mind. So, peer pressure, especially if you're a teenager, does that have an influence on people? Oh my God. Positional power, I'm the temple president, you should do this, or see if that works. My wife's a temple president. Or, I'm the boss at work and able to, it's another source of power is able to, or to influence people is to be able to give them rewards or sanctions, right? If your boss gives you a good performance appraisal, you get a promotion. If your supervisor doesn't like you, there might be some sanctions. And of course, force is a good influencer, right? Like putting a gun to somebody's head. That sometimes works to get them to do what you want them to do. Mike says you can only have your mind changed if you want it to be changed. If I trust and respect you and I want to change and you offer me an action, I will entertain it. Yes, excellent. Also, coming attractions, very, very good point. So there are these ways, or Chanakya Pandit, talks about samadhana, beta, dhanda, right? First friendly dialogue. He's talking in a very political way. He's a politician. And if that doesn't work, then bribe them. If that doesn't work, divide and conquer. And if that doesn't work, then force, danda. So these are different ways to influence people. But let's talk about it in a devotional context, in a bhakti context. A lot of it is, as people have mentioned, and as we saw in Parvati and Lord Shiva, is developing a relationship. And relationships, a lot in a bhakti context, is when we ask somebody for advice. Um, and I thought that this is a significant exchange between Chitraketu and Angira Muni. So Angira says to Chitraketu, he says, I can observe that your mind is not pleased. You seem not to have achieved your desired goal. Is this because of you yourself, or has it been caused by others? Your pale face reflects your deep anxiety. Prabhupada writes that the face is the index of the mind. And 55% of communications is body language. So Sukadeva Goswami replies to this and says, O King Parikshit, listen to this, although the great sage Angira knew everything. So he already knew what was on Chitraketu's mind. Okay? But still he inquired. And that inquiry, it cements the relationship. So it's a question that brings people together. He could have just said, "Oh, I know what the problem is. You want a son, right? Okay, we can work that out." With the following, the following warranty problems. But he inquired from the king in this way, even though he knew everything. Thus, King Chitraketu, desiring a son, bent low in great humility and spoke to the great sage as follows. So we have a much greater influence on people when we, and I don't mean influence in a personal way, but helping people when there's a relationship, when there's trust. And trust it often takes time to develop. And it's a big issue. It's a big issue. In Rupa Goswami writes, Guyam Akyati Prichyati, right? Guyam means confidential topics. Akyati means explains, and Pricha means inquires. So Prabhupada translated as revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. So one point there about trust is being confidential. Not that you hear something juicy from a friend and the next thing you know, at a meeting, you mention it or something like that. That's of course the first simple thing, is just when someone tells you something, as much as you want to tell somebody, some other people, because that you think will help your relationship with that third person, you honor people's confidentiality. But beyond that is having people in your life that you can actually reveal your mind to, and being there for people who approach us in that way. So we're going to do a little experiment here. Again, not your typical Bhagavatam class, but I think it can be a powerful experience. So I want everyone to think of some challenge in your life, just some challenge in your life. By the way, this does have a Krishna conscious connection, so there's a purport to all this. We're taking this somewhere. So think of some challenge in your life, and that it could be big, it could be small, it could be at work, it could be with a devotee, it could be in your family, it could be your finances, some challenge in life. Take 10 seconds to get that challenge in your mind. Okay? So now, in your mind, you don't have to put this in the chat or tell anyone else. Answer this question. What's the real challenge here? You have this challenge in mind. What's the real challenge here? You got 30 seconds to think about that. What's the real challenge here? Okay, now I'm going to ask you another question. Now that you have what the real challenge is, and what else? What else is the real challenge here with that situation? And what else? Okay, one last question. And what else? What else is the real challenge here? Now, I just asked you three simple questions, basically the same. I would hope, generally when I do this, some of you were like, oh my God, in 1.5 minutes, or 1 minute, I just really thought much more clearly about this situation than I have in the past. And my guess is that for many, if not most of you, the answer to the first question is different than the answer to the third question. I hope I don't I don't need you to acknowledge that, but that's my experience. It's my experience when I was going through the thing with the challenge in my life, and it definitely was like that. So why is this important? Well, because Prabhupada wrote a letter to Balavanta Prabhu, very important letter to Balavanta Prabhu about preaching to university students in 1972, in December of 1972. And Prabhupada writes that I want that we recruit more and more our men and women. Of course, he didn't put it, but he said men in that in the generic sense, amongst the intelligent class. They may be a little puffed up. They have some wealth or fame or ability, so they will be sometimes a little puffed up, but that's all right. They deserve it. I love that point. He just says that's their karma. They deserve it. No problem. But now we shall have to learn the art how to approach such higher class of men and attract them to apply themselves to this Krishna conscious process of self-realization. But if we remain always absorbed in remembering Lord Chaitanya, how he converted so many intelligent men, even sitting for 7 days and nights to hear them speak without himself speaking anything. And if we remember how Krishna was so patient to explain everything to Arjuna, even Arjuna was speaking like a fool. In this way, being always tolerant of others and appreciating their point of view, 1972, university students, their point of view was drugs, sex, rock and roll, and Mayavad philosophy. It will be easy matter for us to convince them gradually to join us. So Lord Chaitanya learned a lot about Mayavad philosophy in those 7 days. Of course, he knew everything anyway, but but he listened. Krishna listened to Arjuna, and there's proof of it in both cases, right? Lord Chaitanya says, well, when you were quoting the Vedanta Sutra, those sutras are like brilliant like the sun, but your explanation. So he heard the explanation, but he said, I didn't get it. And Krishna, he definitely heard Arjuna carefully because he says, Asochanam basochas twang pragyapadam shabasase. You're speaking learned words, but but it's foolish. So he heard the words very carefully because he referred back to them. Even earlier, he says, Kuchas tvam kashmalamidam. Where did these impurities come from? So if Krishna was just thinking what he was going to say next, he wouldn't have been able to say, where did these words come from? So in both cases, they were listening carefully. Um, but what's so interesting when we're trying to really help somebody is that little exercise that we did. The first thing that someone tells us about some situation they're in, and if we try to solve that, that's what we hear. But remember those other questions, and we got to a much deeper level of understanding. So we're often solving the wrong problem. And that cuts away from trust. That doesn't help the other person. That we don't have much influence on that person because I, you know, I've experienced this in my life, especially in the old days when we used to go to temple presidents for advice. Uh, I don't go to my temple president for advice right now. Um, walk away saying like, well, that didn't really help me that much, right? So being a good, we're talking about now, Parvati's relationship with Lord Shiva obviously was already cemented. So when there's a very tight relationship, that goes, but often that develops over time by being a good listener. It's such a shame that we go to school and we learn reading, we learn writing, we learn mathematics, we learn science. No offense, Brahmatirtha, Prabhu, but and if we go to a good school, we may have learned public speaking. But where is the class on listening, which is probably the most important relationship skill for an adult in the whole world? And we don't learn anything about it. And it's so important in spiritual life, right? It's said that in the second chapter of the first canto, when you serve Vaishnavas, there's actually an effect. And the effect is you have a taste for hearing, you have a taste for listening. So listening is like, Shravanam, then Kirtanam. So listening is so important in relationships, it's so important in bhakti. It's one of the essences of developing true relationships with others. And it takes some time, it takes some sattva gun, because sattva gun means with the other person speaking, we're not thinking what we're saying next. We're actually listening to them with empathy. The yogi, by what is that verse in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, sees the true something in both their happiness and distress, but it shows a sign of empathy, and that is a great way to, we're talking about, um, how Parvati had this immediate influence uh, on Lord Shiva. There was a trust, there was a relationship, and then with just one sentence, he relaxed and cooled down. So when I read that, I was thinking that was a topic to talk about. How is she able to do that so quickly? How is she able to do that? And even Prabhupada writes that the spiritual master chastises the advanced disciple, often doesn't chastise the neophyte who might take it in the wrong way. Why is this person getting on my case? Right? Because when the advanced disciple, there's trust. Or in that conversation with Sanatana Goswami and Jagatananda, such a beautiful conversation, right? Because Lord, well, long story short, Sanatana Goswami reveals his mind to Jagatananda, and Jagatananda, and he says, "Oh, you should go to Vrindavan." And then Sanatana Goswami tells Lord Chaitanya, "Yeah, I got this advice to go to Vrindavan from Jagadananda," and Lord Chaitanya gets upset. He says, "He's just a boy. You're my guru, Sanatana Goswami. Why you listen? That was incorrect for him to give you advice." And he goes on speaking some chastisement of Jagadananda, and then Lord Sanatana Goswami says, "I can understand you have more affection for Jagadananda than for me, because you're speaking this words of chastisement to him." So, relationship building and listening doesn't always mean, I'm okay, you're okay, and just, yeah, I understand, I feel, I have empathy. Sometimes it means, Prabhu, what the hell? If there's that kind of relationship, you can get on someone's case. Pungsastrio mitini baba mitam tayora ho hridaya grantamahur ahogri haksheta. Sometimes that's the best kind of friendship, right? I had a friend, a close friend of mine, who, elderly person, and we were talking, and I was saying, well, and I was preaching to myself more than him, but I was saying, well, we're getting older. maybe we should be chanting 32 rounds a day or 48 rounds a day or something like that. And he just kind of laughed. Yeah, right. So I've been planning. I haven't spoken to him yet, but I've been planning that, because we have a very close relationship. And I was going to say, no, I was actually serious. It shouldn't be, yeah, right. If we don't have that taste, we should get that taste. So the ultimately the idea is, if patting someone on the head and saying it's all right, Krishna loves you, is going to help them, then we do that. And if, getting on their case is going to help them, we do that. We don't care about being liked or disliked. We care about helping. And we try to pick what would help another person the best. So there's a few thoughts that, well, there's a few things here. Mike said that the end result won't look like what I want it to. Okay, interesting. And Brahmatirtha says, what is the opposite of talking? Waiting to talk. Very good. Yes. So I was instructed to leave time for comments and questions. So I will listen to your questions. Yes, Krishna Daya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful, very deep, insightful, and then a lot of exercises for us to contemplate. Very nice point you touched. So you are emphasizing the art of listening, and then that as a tool to build the relationship, and then the trust moving forward. Um, so when we are trying to uh, strengthen a program what we are continuing and then build a community, so this this plays a very important role, the art of listening. But as you do, like, it takes a lot of time, one to one, listen, and then hear, keep on hearing, and then they share. So but at the same time, we have a desire also to strengthen more and more people. But we always feel that trade-off. We don't have that much time, but still we want to give quality time to people so that the relationship strengthens. So if you are in that trade-off, so then how do we address? Because we want to expand the movement also, expand the community, strengthen the community. At the same time, quality listening is also important. So how do we handle that trade-off?
Uh, there's so many different ways to answer that. One cynical way is spend less time scrolling social media. You'll have a lot more time. Not you necessarily, Krishna Doya Prabhu, but in general. um, yeah, Prabhupada once said you have to spill 200 gallons of blood to make one person a devotee. So we do want quality and quantity in the sense that Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada once told Burijan Prabhu, my desire is to make the whole universe Krishna conscious. Please help me in that desire. And one thing you didn't bring up, Krishna Daya Prabhu, is our own Krishna consciousness. I know it's so cliche, but I love superficial cliches. Uh, the idea when they tell you all the time on the airplane, put your mask on first before you put on the child's mask. So the other thing is taking care of our own Krishna consciousness and being strong in that. Um, but you never know, that person that you're spending time with, they may be the next acharya. They may make thousands of people Krishna conscious. Um, and it kind of has a ripple effect. So I don't know if there's a formula for that. On the other hand, Prabhupada's famous saying about book distribution, what will your 3-minute speech do? But if you give them a book, it's a solid contribution. Our policy on book distribution in the 70s was that we would spend time with a person to the extent that they wanted to be. If somebody was like ready in those days, ready to move into the temple that day, I'd spend all day on Sankirtan with that person and not distribute any more books. Right. Otherwise, it was more like, you take a book, give a donation. So it really depends on the time, the place. the circumstance. Um, you know, it's it's quite uncanny that certain people who have hundreds, if not thousands, of people that want to talk to them. Even if, like, I'll give the example since this is the Bhakti Center and it's my personal experience. Radhanath Swami, you know, he has so many disciples that never speak to him because they only know Hindi. But somehow or other, like especially when it's in like the Bhakti Center and play, it seems like even if it's for 1 minute, it seems like he has all day for you, at least for that 1 minute, and he's totally focused on talking to you. I've seen that with Satyanandan Swami. I've seen that with Bhakti Churu Maharaj. I only saw Prabhupada once. I never spoke to him, so I don't know that. I didn't personally have that experience, but um, it's it's a tricky thing. But charity begins sometimes with that one or two people. So it's a great question. Um, and there may be some that are good at talking to masses, and there may be some that are good at talking to individuals more. I know. We have like Giri Govardhan Prabhu here in Washington D.C., a brilliant Brahminical person. He likes talking to individuals or very small groups, and he's really powerful at bringing them to Krishna consciousness. So I think that if you say which we should do, the question is yes. Bhima Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that great question. Bhima Prabhu, I see your hand, but you're unembodied and unvoiced.
Haribo Vraj Vihari,
Okay, now
Prabhu, Haribo. It's always wonderful listening to you because you bring it down. You make it. Excuse me, I just had to haul a few wheelbarrows up a hill, which is like Sisyphean task. Keeps coming back down on me. Um, you make it very accessible and down to earth, and I'd just like to say that you mentioned Maharaj Radhanath Swami, that
we lost you.
who.
There we
Oh,
go. You're
am I
back.
here?
You're back.
I'm
Yeah.
back. Okay. I wanted to reiterate the idea of that attribute that you said is so most important is how to listen, and how Radhana, which I'm poor at, always the urge, uh, most often to defend, but Maharaj would when he would Radhanath Maharaj, when you're present with him, he's present with you. And it's like you said, you summed it up so eloquently that he has all day in that 1 minute to spend with you. And that's what you feel like. And I remember when I met him, and I would, of course, be drawn in um, to spend more and more time with him. I was very lucky. He was alone, just started his first preaching center, and I just started to visit. And I said, "This is a guy." I was studying writing at the time, and our professor says, "You either live a life worth writing, but if you're too young, find someone worth writing about or observing, uh, uh, observing intimately." Really pondering, who is this person? And he would tell us all these, we'd go there with the boxing club. There'd be like six of us, middleweight through heavyweight, or lightweight through heavyweight. I was lightweight. And they would, he would just mesmerize us with his stories. He'd mesmerize us. And his answers to our questions were always very much immediate, like, he was not only quoting Shastra, but he'd always pick up an experience that he had had that he could share, which, of course, no doubt, example beats precept. So I just like to say that unique ability to connect heart to heart with somebody, even if you have a minute, like they say, smile at the cash register person. Adi Parush always, he's like any opportunity to hand out some beads. He has these little beads, hand out some beads, which actually are very, very costly. They're made out of stone. And he gives them to people that show the slightest interest in what are you, who are you, what are you doing? He goes, try this mantra, and he does that. And these people don't soon forget these little gifts, this little connection, heart to heart. And then to lead, as Adi does, and also others with books, to lead that way, to connect to their heart and show, and people pick up your vibe. That's so important. Prabhupada had a vibe, and that was he was at peace within himself, and he was happy, he was jolly, and that's a big one. So I think that idea of just being open-hearted towards people is really the best preaching tool of all. And in that open-heartedness, one naturally wants to listen to the sorrow of others. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And I learned a lot of this from Henry. Henry and I have been together for decades now, and I see how he really, when he's talking to someone, he listens to them very carefully, and he finds a way to relate it to Krishna consciousness. Because he's come from like a worldly background. He's very a prominent person in the world, and people listen to him, but they're doubly impressed that he has that worldly background, and he sets aside his own story to hear their story. It's kind of like, when we go to worship the deity, we say that prayer. We say that prayer, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm just a servant of Krishna. It's kind of, I like to imagine figuratively that I'm going to the temple and I have all my upadhis, all my designations in my pocket. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a that, blah, blah, blah. I'm from New York. And when I go to worship the deity, I empty my pocket of all those things. And I just go on the altar thinking I'm Krishna's servant. So listening, I think, is like that. We empty our pockets of whatever's going on in our life and our challenges and our trials and tribulations and the flat tire that we just got and all that. And we just focus on the person that we're talking to. And we're totally there for them. By having that mindset, your body naturally starts acting in a way that shows that you're listening. And it becomes, and a person, and it's so rare for people to have that experience these days in such a fast-paced world that we live in. It can be such a wonderful service. It's one, we talk about Mahat Sevam Dwara Mahur Vimuktes, that the spiritual world empties to those who serve devotees. And that and we quoted earlier that by serving devotees in the second chapter of the first canto, one gets an affinity for hearing. And that whole process mentioned in that second chapter from like verse 15 or so up to 23, the whole process of bhakti is mentioned there. And it begins by serving devotees. And sometimes we think, okay, serving devotees is giving them prasadam, giving them a gift, that's all there. But one of the most important one is guyam akyati prichtati, to inquire confidentially and to to listen carefully to someone and be there for them. And that is service to devotees. And if we do that, we make rapid advancement. Devaki Priti Devi, please.
Hi, Krishna Vraj Vihari Prabhu. Thank you so much for your class, and thank you for the gift, your gift of helping remind us how important it is to listen, and that's a way that we can care for the devotees. I really appreciate what you just said, especially that last part just now about emptying our pockets of all of our stuff
You are.
and just fully being present with that person or that devotee or whoever it is. So thank you so much, and that's my big take home is, yeah, you have to get out of all of your out of what you're in and just be able to just fully be there for them, and people can feel when you're with them and when you're not with them. So
Very.
thank you so much for the
Thank you.
reminder.
And the other thing is, it's really hard to do that if we're not full ourselves. If we haven't taken the time to hear and chant about Krishna and feel his presence in our heart, then we get antsy. We're affected more by the lower modes of material nature. So fill ourselves up and then distribute it. Saurabh ji. Thank you, Devaki Priti.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the class. I was just gonna second what Devaki Priti Didi said. Literally, like I'm listening and you're giving this example of emptying your pockets, and I'm like, I gotta turn on my camera and pay attention. And so it was what you said was very, I was already listening, but this is a different level. And so extremely powerful and mind blowing that there is not a class on listening. And however many years we go to school. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh. I hear you. There you go. I listened.
I'm going to stop talking and listen.
I'll remove the spotlight. Somebody put in the chat, fill ourselves up and then distribute it. Oh, yes. Okay. And let's see. The Bhakti Center quoted the Chaitanya chart. Oh, they quote that verse. Yes. Gopi Bhatta Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasan Das. And this is from the Padyavali compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. It's such a beautiful verse. Yeah, because Sarva Upadi Vinirmuktam Tatparat Vena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uttama. That the whole problem is our false ego. The whole problem is ignorance. That's what Rupa Goswami says. Where does ignorance come? False ego. What is false ego? We think we're something that we're not. And then if you think your mind gives you trouble, as they say in Brooklyn, forget about it. It's nothing compared to the false ego. What the mind does, it just protects the false ego. That's what the mind is doing all day. It's I dislike, sankalpa, vikalpa, the mind's going back and forth, all based on our false idea of who we think we are.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari Prabhu.
Time is almost up, so should I talk to Stephanie? Has her
Yeah,
hand up.
let's hear from Stephanie.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for class. I just quickly wanted to say before my child actually comes outside, that was, again, with the listening was such a great reminder for all of us. And also for my young kids, I really, when she said that, just like I teach them, make sure you open the door, when somebody's behind you. And this is just a great reminder to start really practicing this in our day to day. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
And you brought up the last point because it's about time to greet the deities, and that is we have to practice what we preach. It's so easy I tell you, from a kid from Long Island, it's so easy to talk all day, like give a class like this. It's really hard once the class is over to act in the way that I just said we should all act like. And that's where the rubber meets the road.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari Prabhu. I once told Ganesham Prabhu, I have great taste for hearing. I have taste for service. I have taste for chanting Maha Mantra with burning tears. I'm basically a saintly person, but I just don't have the time to do all those good things. And Ganesham told me it's never about having or not having the time. It's about making the time.
Yeah.
You always make time for the things you like. And if you're not doing something, then you don't really want it and you don't have it. You crushed me like that. Just wanted to share that.
Okay, well, since should I? I hear the child. We should end with a quote from a '70s song. There never seems to be enough time to do the things we want to do once we find them. So we shouldn't make that mistake. We should avyakta kalatvam. One of the symptoms of someone who's attained bhava is that they use all of their time in Krishna service.
Yeah.
We can at least increase it. We might not all the time, maybe a high, but at least daily try to add a few more minutes.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari Prabhu. Adipusha Prabhu, Bhakti Center, Temple Room. What's happening? Are deities on time?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
I want to hear Ram's comments, Ram's purport. We need to hear more from Ram.
He's eating.
There's Ram.
There we go. It's like a conch shell.
The lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way that we can get a bunch of difference. And the vows of his mother feet of the ornaments. And with grace, one across the ocean, and material self, and the same to the rest of the world. I only wish to have my consciousness be able to the will of heaven actions in the lotus feet of perfection, fulfills all desires. You open my darkened eyes and floats my heart. He was my Lord for a by the kindness and ignorance is destroyed. The scripture is sealed like the dark. My spiritual master, worship of mercy, friend of the Lord, O master of mercy, it was the shade of his feet. The fame is spread all over the field. We take shelter from those who are with God and speak eternally.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. Dear devotees, thank you for being here. Would you like to speak? If you do, please unmute yourself. Let's see, Bhima Prabhu is here. He can handle any question. He knows everything. Anybody? Questions? Bhima Prabhu? He can answer a question even if he's not asked it.
I don't have to be right. I can always give an answer, but I don't have to be right.
That's right. Okay, Adipurusha Prabhu is joining, and he hasn't glorified Krishna in this class. Yes, let me see. Adipurusha Prabhu, check 1, check 2. Where are you?
We're in the elevator.
How was the class for you, Adipurusha Prabhu? What's your takeaway?
Have somebody else speak because we're in the elevator. There's going to be a blackout in a few seconds. And then we'll be able to.
Boom.
Is it okay if I don't talk?
Stephanie will speak. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, so I was just thinking also when I first came into Christian consciousness, which wasn't that long ago, that's something I noticed is when I spoke with people, everybody actually paid attention to what I was saying, and I was shocked. And that's why I think a lot of these unhealthy relationships started to fade away, because I finally saw what true healthy relationships look like. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Stephanie. I have the same experience with the devotees. Okay, Hari Purusha Prabhu, are you out of the woods? Would you like to speak in line with Guru Sadhu and Shastra? Do you have a scrolling problem? Would you like to share how you deal with it? Yeah. Adi Purusha Prabhu, we're waiting to hear from you, please. Oh, he's... Adi Purusha Prabhu, can you hear us? Yeah, please unmute yourself and glorify Krishna.
Interesting subject matter. Of course, we'll give a very good class. We'll wait till the doors close so it's a little quieter. This is the age we're trying to repeat some of the things we've heard Srila Prabhupada tell us. This is the age of quarrel. You've heard that? Hello?
Quarrel and hypocrisy. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So
He's always like this old man with a funnel next to his ear. Can you hear me, Sonny?
this is the age of quarrel. If we haven't noticed, we've heard that, and we see that. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, everyone is born into delusion based on desire and hate. I like this, I don't like that. I like this, I don't. That's the material paradigm. We each have things that we like and things that we don't like, and so since people have different things that they like and don't like, we quarrel. And there's a spectrum. We've heard from Srila Prabhupada that there's a spectrum of, on one end of the spectrum there's selfishness, and on the other end of the spectrum there's love. And when Krishna is in the center, and we're trying to please Krishna instead of what I want, what I don't like, what I want to do, what I don't want to do, when we're all trying to please Krishna, then there's harmony. And we actually have the capacity for genuine affection. And there's cooperation. Prabhupada, another thing Prabhupada said was, if you want to please me, cooperate. So when the focus of our life is to share Krishna consciousness with others, and I was listening to Vaisheshekha recently, he was saying, if a temple is just trying to arrange for some, wait a minute, Angel wants to talk. No, that's the key. That's the key. Wait a minute, Angel wants to talk. No, the key. I can talk? Yeah. Okay, if the focus of the temple is how to give Krishna consciousness to others, then there's a spirit. And we realize we're joining together to carry out something to please Krishna. But if we just try to make an arrangement for ourselves, then it becomes like it's a recipe for stifleness and being stuck. And we heard one of our Muslim friends, he said, I'm concerned about becoming stagnant. He said, I'm practicing spiritual life. He said, he gave the analogy, if there's a pond and the water seeps down to that low place and it just sits there still, then it becomes murky. It gets filled up with all kinds of green algae and scummy stuff and bacteria, and it's not very palatable. But if it's a stream and it's coming into this pond and flowing through the pond and out of the pond, then the water is clear. He says, in my spiritual life, I have to be careful to keep that.
Let me finish.
All right, Beam is going to talk. I'm not going to talk.
No, he wasn't talking to us. It's okay. We muted him. Go ahead, Adipusha Prabhu. The great point you're making.
Output with one taking
Is it just me or we lost Adi?
what?
We lost you for a minute, Adipusha Prabhu.
Yeah, we can't hear.
You can hear me okay?
No.
What's happening is somebody else opened up their phone, so this opened the phone.
There's something with your mic, Adipusha Prabhu. But
What?
thank you very much. You made a great point
Oh, good, no problem.
that we need to give it to others and we need to progress from wherever we're at in our bhakti.
I'd like
Like
to
what
add
you
something to
said.
that, of course.
Yep. Yes, Bhima Prabhu.
It's important not to bury your individuality. It's important not to bury your dreams and your aspirations. This idea that not what I want, what Krishna wants. Well, a father would hardly say to his son all his livelong life, do what I say, do what I want. He's only saying, please me. And if the child and the young man and the grown man goes off to show that he's a responsible, hardworking, creative individual, separate from his father, and does great things, and his father can take great pleasure. Krishna takes great pleasure when we strike out on our own. Prabhupada had to strike out on his own, even to create a branch sampradaya. He's still in the sampradaya, but he had to break away from his god brothers. So these are the things that are necessary, that courage to, not just say, oh, I'll just do what the temple president wants. I'll just do what they tell me to do. It may be in the beginning when you need to learn how to do things as an apprentice, but in the end, you got to strike out and do something new, like Adi Purusha, who started this wonderful hospitality program where thousands of people a year, tens of thousands of people a year, get close one-on-one association with other devotees, with books, with prasad, and with service. So Adi had to break out and be an individual. He always says, oh, just do what's somebody tells you to do, but he was given a mission, distribute food, and he was given a mission to make the temple a home for everyone. And what he did was he made the temple so much a home that he had to go out and get another building. So 80 people a night just in one place, 80 a night, get a chance to see Krishna's picture, Radharani's picture, the books, take prasadam, and have a chance to not only go and distribute prasadam with Adi Purush, but also Das will, like a Pied Piper, will lead them to the Bhakti Center where they will be able to see Radha Murlidhar in person, and it happens every day and all the time. So I'd just like to say, Adi Purush says one thing, but he actually does another. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Min has a hand up. It's probably a question for Bhima or Adi. Let's see.
Well, I just wanted to share, it's sort of like a synthesis of what Adi Prusha shared and Bhima also, because, I was just thinking about the question of like, what is the real struggle and conflict? And then you think of another one, what is the real struggle? What is the real struggle? And, I never thought that I would have a conflict when I came to Krishna consciousness with people, but I was very naive. And I don't really have a lot of conflict, but there are a few incidences where I kind of had to struggle as to what the right thing to do is. And one struggle I had, I actually thought about it and for 1 year actually, because I wasn't really sure and I didn't want to offend the devotee. Um, and at the end, what ended up happening was, yes, we listened to Krishna, of course, but like Bhima also said, like, reading the Bhagavatam and listening to the lectures, the one thing that's so amazing about that is that I feel like I have set of values that are really, really important now, which I didn't really have before. And so in my own way, in my own personal life, how do I live by those principles and values? And when the conflicts come, I think it's I pray to Krishna, what is the way? But the struggle there was, in hindsight, that I thought, well, things weren't going my way, you know, and I think I was kind of arrogant to a point. Well, Shastra says this, and this devotee that I really respect says this, but why is it not happening? Like, how can I go about that? And at the end, it was really to get my own way, even in resolving conflicts. And so I thought it was really important to be in communication with Krishna as to how to navigate those struggles. And yeah, I just wanted to share that. It was a very important lesson for me.
Thank you, men. You always say very profound and deep things. Thank you. Saurabh Prabhu, followed by Anandi. Anandi, we're going to check on you right after Saurabh. Unmute yourself, please. Saurabh, go
Hi,
ahead.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to add one thing with the intention, if it helps anyone. Something that I've tried to do is, ironic I'm saying that, but I try to not use the word I. Often I try to use it as least as possible and consciously try to operate from a we and us mindset. Again, you have to say it sometimes, but that seems to help. I think that was this is all kind of going together. So I wanted to share that, and I tried to use I and what I like, because it's, I try to emphasize we and us while still maintaining everything Bhima said. Bhima Prabhu said.
Yeah, please be my Prabhu for us. Yes, yes. Don't make that mistake with him.
Prabhu Genie, deep down inside.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Anandi, how are you doing? What's going on? Tell us.
I'm home.
Beautiful.
I'm home and very grateful for all the devotees and looking forward to Janamastami. And on this topic, I just want to say, not from the devotees, but from friends. The art of listening. When I lost Donald, I found people very, very interesting, because not a lot of people can just listen. They all have prescriptions. They all try to tell you what to do. And especially if a person is in pain, people sort of can't bear it. So they'll give you a prescription. It's very hard for them to just listen. So that's all I have to say. It's important to just listen. And many people have their own gurus. You're not their guru, so just listen with empathy.
Thank you, Anandi. That was a good one. When somebody comes to us, they may not necessarily be wanting to hear the solution that we have for every single problem. They just want to know, like Adipusha Prabhu says, they just want to know if we love them. That's what it boils down to. So just give some love on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara and the devotees, and that's it. That will take care of the situation. Okay, thank you very much, dear devotees, for your association on a daily basis. It was very nice seeing you, your bright faces, your fresh haircuts, Saurabh Prabhu. Okay, we can take one last contributor. How about Emily? Emily, would you like to speak? What's your takeaway from class?
Hare Krishna. I missed most of the class, but I can relate with the overall message that I'm hearing, which is about listening. And I keep thinking about, getting humble. And I've been having trouble with this, particularly this week. So of course, this is right on time. And I've been reading the Gita a little bit about and picking out excerpts that remind me to go back to Krishna as the center, and to stop feeding as much as I can my sense gratification, and to stop using my intellect, whatever I have of it, to rationalize what I'm doing and why I know more or whatever. I feel like I've been real impulsive this week and just talking when I shouldn't and saying things that I shouldn't. Nothing too terrible, but nothing malevolent, but just too much, just too much. And a friend of mine said to me, like, what's going on? Like, you're like a little bit more boisterous than usual. And I really took a look at that because I respect where he's coming from. And I don't know what's fueling it, but I know that I have to simmer down a little bit. And it's funny because I can listen. I can listen. I can meditate. I can really clear my mind, but that's when I'm trying to. I want to try to do that as well in my daily life. It's not enough just to do it in solitude. I want to carry that into my actual life with people more and stop being so nitpicky in my head about how others are showing up. And it's for small things. It's not for big things. Like someone can say, "Hey, I just came out of jail after 40 years." I'm like, "Cool," and I don't care. Like I'm like, that's cool. You got a second chance at life. Like my heart is open to that, but God forbid they walk on the wrong side of the street. Forget it. Like, forget about it. So I just want to try to calm down and be more accepting and be more respectful of people and where they're at. Because I want them to be like that towards me, I suppose. Like, I got to stop imposing. So I guess I have to start listening.
I have an answer to that.
Oh, yes, please.
You're not alone. First of all, don't be embarrassed. You're not alone. A lot of people who feel things deeply and overthink or think things through and through and through, and are open-hearted tend to spill a little bit over much. And the answer is, of course, is to find yourself in kirtan. Go to these kirtans. That will give you a chance to sing what it is, what you feel, and to be in the association of other people who are singing and listening all at once. So that urge to want to cry out, what is this human condition? What am I doing here? What does Krishna have in store for me? What's going on in my life? How can I be an asset to this world, let alone this movement? How can I contribute? How may I serve? These things become self-apparent when you're around the devotees because they're like streams. Some of them are like small rivers, and some of them are like waterfalls of ideas and momentum in their own service, and they tend to sweep you along like Hanuman jumping off the mountain to go to Sri Lanka. Half the herbs on the mountain and a lot of the rocks followed him just by his momentum off the mountain. So that's what kirtan is all about. I myself should be listening right now to what I'm saying, but when I'm desperate, when I really want to express myself, you can go right to Krishna. Krishna will hear everything, and he actually already does. He hears everything you're thinking, and hears everything you're saying, and he knows your intent, and he knows your heart. So keep spilling, but just spill to someone who's going to listen to you. The king of listeners would be Krishna. Hare Krishna.
That's got to be one of the best answers I ever heard. And I feel I definitely noticed that I go to kirtan at least once a week. And I love the 6-hour kirtan that we have at the Bhakti Center. I just love that. And we didn't have it in July. And I felt its absence. I'm not blaming the kirtan not being there, but I'm just explaining like I felt its absence and I'm like waiting for it to come in August because it's a nice amount of time where you can just jump in. So I hear that. I hear what you're saying, Bhima Prabhu. Thank you. You're totally right. It is a great way to land and to express yourself, and it's its own unique, wonderful experience. And maybe that's why I'm spilling out all over the place. I need to go back to that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Great question, great answer. I thought Bhima Prabhu was going to give a different answer. I thought he was going to say something like, not feeling humble enough, you will be humbled by life. You will be beaten down. You will be taught a lesson. But he said something way more profound. Feeling lost in life? Immerse yourself in kirtan. Throw yourself in service. Recalibrate by chanting. Thank you, Emily. Great contribution to the yagya. So now we're turning the floor over to Devaki Priti Devi Dasi, who will recite the mantra for us and for Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Give it to Krishna and come again tomorrow for another class.